Good morning to one and all. Today our concept is Java interface in Hadoop. Okay, now we already we seen in previous class that is nothing but command line interface. We have discussed in briefly, and then we have to introduce the next topic that is nothing but Java interface. Okay, now what is Java interface in Hadoop we have to discuss now. Okay, first of all, if you have to learn about Hadoop, what is a Hadoop is a Apache software foundation. Okay, now we have seen in Hadoop at Java interface, Hadoop has an abstract notion of file systems. What I meant to say in the sense, Hadoop has an abstract notion of file systems, and of which Hadoop file system is just one implementation. What it is just one implementation. So here we can use Java abstract class, like for example org organization. Okay, org dot apache dot hadoop dot small f, yes, in the sense of file system dot capital letter file f should be file system. It represents a file system in Hadoop. Okay, and there are several concrete implementations. Okay, there are so many several concrete implementations in Hadoop. What I meant to say in the sense, Hadoop has an abstract notion of file systems, and of which Hadoop file systems is just one implementation. So Java abstract class, for example, org.apache.hadoop.fs.file system, it represents a file system in Hadoop. So, and there are several concrete implementations we are discussed now. Okay, now, first of all, we have to interact Java interface in Hadoop file system. In order to interact with Hadoop's file system programmatically, Hadoop provides multiple Java classes. What I meant to say in the sense, if you in order to interact with the Hadoop file system programmatically in some set of software set of instructions we have seen, Hadoop provides what it supports multiple Java classes, more than one Java classes. It support you what Hadoop provides. Okay, first for example, what I meant to, for example, if you have to take some package, what I meant to say, Java abstract class, a package named org dot apache dot hadoop dot fs something dot file system. It contains what classes. It contains classes by useful in manipulation of a file. Okay, package named like org.apache.hadoop.fs. It contains classes useful in manipulation in the sense you are handling, you have to manipulate it of a file in Hadoop's file system. Okay, so these operations include in Java interface by using Hadoop file system. If in file concept, if you have to read these functions also, open, read, and write and close, these operations is must and should include at file systems. Actually, if you learn about the file API for Hadoop, a file application programming interface for Hadoop, it is generic. What ma? It is generic, and it can be extended to interact with other file systems. What I can say, the other file systems other than Hadoop file systems. What I meant to say in the sense, actually we are going to learn about file application programming interface for Hadoop. It is generic and it can be extended to interact with other file systems. Okay, it can be extended to interact with other file systems other than Hadoop file systems. What I mean to say, other than Hadoop file systems. Okay, now we have to take in some reading a file from Hadoop file system programmatically. What I meant to say now, reading a file from a Hadoop file system programmatically. Okay, for example, I meant what I meant to say in the sense a Hadoop file system and URI in the sense uniform resource identifier and Java packages with detailed description. Okay, now we can see some file systems. For example, I want to say the file systems like how many file systems if you have so many is there. Now I can explain only two for two file systems. I can explain now. First one, if you have to take local file system, what does the URI scheme in the sense uniform resource identifier scheme, it's nothing but if you have to take a file. Okay, coming to the Java implementation in the sense all under org.apache.hadoop. Okay, for example, if you have to take a file system fs dot local file system, what does mainly the local file system description it will be in the sense a file system for a locally connected disk with client side checksums. Okay, with client side checksum, it should be locally connected disk. By we are using the raw local file system for a local file system with no checksums. Okay, here we are using raw local file system for a local file system with no checksums. And coming to the second file system, that is nothing but Hadoop file system. The URI scheme it should be HDFS in the sense Hadoop file system. It indicates like small letters. Okay, URI scheme it indicates all are small letters, and coming to the file system it indicates all are it must and should capital letters. And what are the Java implementation we can see at Hadoop file system? HDFS dot distributed file system. What does description in the sense Hadoop distributed file system? Hadoop file system it is designed to work efficiently. It is designed to work efficiently in conjunction with MapReduce. In conjunction with MapReduce. And then I have learned about now HFTP in the sense HFTP. I think high file transfer protocol is there. Namma Hadoop file transfer protocol, that is nothing but the file system Hadoop file transfer protocol. What is the URI scheme? HFTP small letters. Okay, and coming to the Java implementation here, Hadoop file system dot HFTP file system. What does the file description in the sense a file system providing read only access to Hadoop file system over hypertext transfer protocol. So many things are described if you have file systems and if you have uniform resource identifier schemes, and what is the Java implementation and what is the file system description finally. Okay, something if you have to learn the Hadoop file systems and URI and Java packages with a detailed description if we have to learn here. Okay, now we can see reading a file from Hadoop file system programmatically. Okay, now we can look at these points. First one, object java.net.url. It is used for reading contents of a file. What is the purpose of this one? It is used for reading the content of a file. First of all, to begin with, we need to make Java recognize Hadoop's HDFS in the sense Hadoop file system URL scheme in the sense uniform resource locator scheme, some scheme in the sense some structure of representation. Okay, this nothing but object java.net.url. It is used for reading contents of a file to begin with, and we need to make Java recognize Hadoop's HDFS URL scheme. These are all done by calling set URL stream handler factory. What we can call now, this is done by calling set URL stream handler factory method. Okay, you can call this method on URL object and an instance instance of file system URL stream handler factory, it is passed to it. Okay, what I meant to say in the sense, this is done by calling the method like set URL stream handler factory on URL object, and it is an instance of fs URL stream handler factory, it is passed to it. Okay, what this method so we can execute in the sense, this method needs to be executed only one per Java virtual machine. Okay, what I meant to say in the sense, this method needs to be executed only once per Java virtual machine. So it is enclosed in a static block. Okay, so it is enclosed in a static block. What I meant to say in the sense, this method wants to be executed only once per Java virtual machine, and hence it is enclosed in a static block. Now we can see the example programmatic representation of Java interface in Hadoop, how the code open and what we can read the content of a file and what is the path of the file on Hadoop file systems, what it is passed to the program as a command line argument. We can learn about these things about the program. Now we can learn about here the Java interface in clearly what does the Hadoop provides you. Okay, what does the Hadoop provides you? Listen carefully. Okay, ma'am. First of all, Hadoop provides many interfaces. What ma? Listen carefully. Hadoop provides many interfaces to its file systems. Okay, Hadoop provides many interfaces to its file systems. So it is generally uses the URI scheme, in the sense Uniform Resource Identifier scheme, to pick the correct file system. What we have to pick? The correct file system. Instance to communicate with that one. Instance to communicate with. Okay, now we can see, for example, if you have to take, if you have to give, for example, to list the files in the root directory. Okay, ma. For example, if you have to list the files in the root directory of the local file system, how we can give some, for example, percent Hadoop something fs file systems hyphen ls, in the sense list of files colon slash 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 whatever it may be. Although it is passable ma, and sometimes it is very convenient. Okay, although it is possible and sometimes it is very convenient to run map reduce programs. Okay, if you have to run the map reduce programs that access any of these file systems. What I meant to say, that access any of these file systems when you are processing the large amounts of data. When you are processing the large amounts of data, if you should choose a distributed file system that has the data locality optimization such as Hadoop file systems. Okay, what I meant to say in the sense, if you have to listen carefully, although it is possible and sometimes it is very convenient to run map reduce programs that access any of these file systems. Okay, that access any of these file systems when you are processing large, in the sense large, very huge amounts of data or large volumes of data. If you should choose a distributed file system, okay, that has the data locality optimization, okay, such as Hadoop file system. Now we can say, what does the Hadoop written in which language? The Hadoop written in Java language, and all Hadoop file system interactions and all Hadoop file system interactions are mediated through the Java API. What I meant to say in the sense, or interactions, for example, I have done a Java application that uses the Java file system class, okay, to provide file system operations. Okay, the other file system interfaces are discussed discussed briefly in this section I can. Okay, these interfaces are most commonly used with Hadoop file systems. Okay, these interfaces are most commonly used with the Hadoop file systems. Since the other file systems in Hadoop, it is typically have existed tools to accessing the underlying file systems. Okay, like FTP clients for FTP, S3 tools for S3 tools, in the sense it is a command it is S3 command. It is a free command tool. Okay, for we want to implement it that file systems, but many of them will work with any Hadoop file systems. Okay, what I meant to say in the sense, if you have seen this program, Hadoop is written in Java, and all Hadoop file systems interactions are mediated through the Java application programming interface, Java API. What I meant to say in the sense, the file system shell, if you have a file system, the file system shell, for example, it is a Java application that uses the Java file system class. What that uses? The Java file system class to provide file system operations. Coming to this concept, it is a Java application that uses the Java file system class to provide file system operations. Okay, so the other file system interfaces are discussed. Okay, these interfaces are most commonly used with Hadoop file systems. These interfaces are most commonly used with Hadoop file systems. So since the other file systems in Hadoop, it is typically having existing tools. What I meant to say, since the other file systems in Hadoop, it is typically having existing tools. What are they existing already? To access the underlying file systems, like FTP clients for FTP, S3 tools for S3, etc. we can say. But many of them will work with any Hadoop file systems. For example, this program, I have written this program, public class URL cat something name. Okay, a static, if we have give some URL dot set URL stream handler factory, we have give some new name like file system URL stream handler factory, and we have give some main statement public static void main string something arguments throw IO exceptions something exception. If we have give some input stream like it is assigned to null, and we have to take some try catch methods will be there. Try method, in the try method some in is assigned to new URL, some arguments like you have to take some 0 and open stream of some function. And if you have to take IO utils dot copy bytes, what you have to copy that bytes in comma system dot out comma some 4096, it should be a false. And finally you have to return some IO utils dot close stream of in function. Okay, and finally if you have to close all the braces, what this exactly say in the sense, this code opens and reads the contents of a file. Okay, so the path of this file on Hadoop file systems, it is passed to the program. As a command line argument. Okay, this is the concept of the Java interface. Later we can discuss the topic that is nothing but last topic in 4th unit, that is the concept of data flow of file read, and one more you have to learn data flow of file write. Okay, thank you.